Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. John Cornett's here with Jim. They're going to be playing a couple songs at the opening and close of the show. Howdy, gentlemen.
Howdy, Paul.
Casper Leach is standing next to me. He is our joint host tonight. Hey, Casper.
Happy Friday.
We have some show and tell things, and happy to say we're back with hemp news. We've got several great hemp news stories, a couple good medical articles, so stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment after we bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
So cute when they dance leaf to leaf like that. Okay, our first story is from Washington, D.C. United States Congressman Steve Cohen, a Democrat from Tennessee, along with Portland's own Representative Earl Blumenauer, a Democrat, and Virginia Democrat Jim Moran, and Jared Polis, a Democrat from Boulder, Colorado, and Sam Farr, a Democrat of California, introduced legislation last week in the House of Representatives to establish a national commission to review U.S. marijuana policy and issue recommendations to federal lawmakers. House Resolution 1635, the National Commission on Federal Marijuana Policy Act of 2013, seeks to establish a 13-member expert committee to review of the state and efficacy of current policies of the federal government toward marijuana. Specifically, members of the commission would make recommendations to Congress regarding the following: how federal policy should interact with state laws that make marijuana legal for medicinal or personal use, the cost of marijuana prohibition and potential state and federal regulation of marijuana, as well as the potential revenue generated by the taxation of marijuana, the health impacts related to marijuana use in comparison to alcohol and tobacco use, the impact of marijuana prohibition on criminal justice, including any racial disparities, and the collateral consequences of prosecution for marijuana possession, including lack of access to housing, education, and employment. Members of this new commission would also issue recommendations regarding the appropriate placement of marijuana in the schedule of the Federal Controlled Substances Act, which presently classifies cannabis as a Schedule I prohibited substance in the same category as heroin. So they say it has no medical use, which we know isn't true. The proposed commission would be modeled after the National Commission on Marijuana Use, aka the Schaefer Commission. That commission in 1972, appointed by President Richard Nixon in 1971, called on Congress to decriminalize cannabis possession offenses. Federal lawmakers and the President, Nixon, rejected the commission's recommendations. Congress has failed to sponsor any additional review of marijuana policy since that time. Tennessee Representative Cohen's prepared statement read, quote, regardless of your views on marijuana, it's important that we understand the impact of current federal policy and address the conflict with those state laws that allow for medicinal or personal use of marijuana. This conflict is only going to continue to grow over the next few years, and we must provide certainty to the millions of individuals and businesses that remain caught in the web of incompatible laws. A national commission would provide us with the information we need to create sensible policy going forward, end quote. The Obama administration has repeatedly stated that it's time for a national conversation regarding America's marijuana policies. A majority of Americans agree that it's time for the United States to end its fruitless and expensive war on cannabis consumers and pursue policies of regulation and taxation. Establishing this national commission would be a pragmatic and productive step toward creating a framework for a functional federal policy on marijuana. House Resolution 1635 is one of several marijuana law reform bills now pending before the United States Congress, including House Resolution 499, Ending Marijuana Prohibition Act of 2013, House Resolution 1523, the Respect State Marijuana Laws Act, and House Bill 689, the State's Medical Marijuana Patient Protection Act, and Senate Bill 359, the Industrial Hemp Farming Act of 2013. The full text of H.R. 1635 and other legislation can be reviewed on the Library of Congress's legislative website, thomas.loc.gov. That's Thomas, THOMAS.LOC.gov. Our next story is from Tel Aviv in Israel. Low doses of THC are cardioprotective in mice, according to preclinical data to be published online in the Journal of Biochemical Pharmacology. Israeli scientists assessed the impact of a single ultra-low injection of THC in mice prior to a restriction of blood supply to the tissue. Investigators reported that THC, quote, is a safe and effective treatment that reduces myocardial heart attack damage, end quote. They concluded, quote, our study provides novel evidence for the beneficial use of extremely low doses of THC, doses that do not elicit any psychoactive side effects in order to protect the heart from damage. THC can be used as a preconditioning drug in cases in which ischemic insult to the heart is anticipated, such as during cardiac surgery or coronary interventions. If post-conditioning with THC will be found effective, it could also be used following myocardial infarction, end quote. The full text of this study, an ultra-low dose of tetrahydrocannabinol provides cardioprotection, appears in the Biochemical Pharmacology magazine out now. From Redendwick, Australia. Adults who inhale cannabis report significantly better health outcomes than do those who smoke tobacco, or a combination of both substances, according to exploratory survey data to be published in the journal Addictive Behaviors. Investigators at the University of New South Wales in Australia assessed the relationship between cannabis, tobacco, and combined cannabis-tobacco use and various health outcomes in 350 subjects aged 40 and older. The authors reported that the cannabis-only subjects reported, quote, significantly better general health and fewer smoking-related health concerns compared to the tobacco-only group. Specifically, both tobacco smoking groups experienced significantly more mucus or sputum than the other two groups, the cannabis-only group and controls. Cannabis-only subjects were less likely to report diagnoses of cancer and diabetes compared to all the other groups, including the controls. However, these differences did not achieve statistical significance. Overall, researchers reported, quote, general health measures demonstrated a pattern in which the control and cannabis-only groups tended to report the best health, with the two tobacco smoking groups faring worse, end quote. They conclude, quote, cannabis-only users report better health than tobacco and cannabis-tobacco users. Mixing cannabis with tobacco may synergistically compromise health, end quote. A separate clinical trial published in 2012 in the Journal of the American Medical Association, or JAMA, reported that subjects exposed to moderate doses of cannabis smoke long-term did not suffer from deficits in pulmonary or lung function, but that subjects exposed to tobacco smoke did so. The full text of this study, Health Outcomes Associated with Long-Term Regular Cannabis and Tobacco Smoking, appears in this month's Addictive Behaviors. From Alaska, the great North State is poised to become the next battleground in the state-by-state push to legalize the recreational use of marijuana. Almost 40 years ago, back in 1975, the Alaska Supreme Court ruled that adults have a constitutional right to possess and smoke marijuana for personal use in their homes. Then, in the late 1990s, Alaska became one of the first wave of states to legalize the use of cannabis for medicinal purposes. But marijuana law reform then sputtered in the state. Residents in 2004 turned down a ballot measure which would have legalized marijuana. In 2006, the state passed a law recriminalizing possession of even small amounts of cannabis. But supporters say attitudes toward cannabis have loosened in the past decade. They have a real chance now in Alaska. The proposed initiative would make it legal for adults 21 and older to use and possess up to an ounce of marijuana, but not in public. It would set out provisions for legal cultivation and establish an excise tax. One of the sponsors of the bill, Bill Parker, said, quote, "The whole initiative, as you can tell, is scaled down to be as palatable as possible," end quote. If the initiative is accepted by the state, supporters will have until January to gather more than 30,000 signatures required to qualify for Alaska's 2014 primary ballot. In order to have a system where individuals can go to a store, buy an ounce of marijuana, drive home, and enjoy it at home, it's necessary to make up to an ounce of marijuana entirely legal. Ultimately, we're starting to see the marijuana policy debate shift away from whether marijuana should be allowed or prohibited and toward how we will treat it. Alaska Governor Sean Parnell supports the state's right to establish its own laws, said spokesperson Sharon Lehow. But the Alaska governor also considers marijuana a gateway drug that can lead to more serious patterns of substance abuse and criminal offenses. The Alaska governor hasn't taken a position on the proposed marijuana legalization initiative. Our next story, marijuana policy reform is advancing on multiple fronts here in Oregon, with both medicinal and general legalization measures gaining traction in an increasingly friendly legislature. We're seeing the best legislative session here in Oregon for Oregon drug policy reform, certainly since the Oregon Medical Marijuana Act passed in 1998, and perhaps ever this go around. In the last week, the Oregon Senate passed Senate Bill 281 on a 1911 vote. This bill adds post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, to the list of debilitating medical conditions which qualify patients for the protections of the Oregon Medical Marijuana Act. They also passed Senate Bill 40 in a vote 24-6. This bill realigns the felony level designations of manufacturing and possession of marijuana to be consistent with the rescheduling of marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2, which the legislature did back in 2007, and creates misdemeanor possession of more than 1 ounce and less than 4 ounces, and misdemeanor hashish possession of less than 1/4 of an ounce. They also passed Senate Bill 82 by 18-12. This bill removes the driver's license suspension incidental to conviction for possession of less than 1 ounce of marijuana. Meanwhile, in the Oregon House, HB 3640 adds medical marijuana facilities to the list of cardholders under the OMMA, and with patients' permission, allows growers to be fully reimbursed for their excess marijuana, the amount cultivated minus the patient's need, by medical marijuana facilities, and allows them to be fully reimbursed by patients and their caregivers. This would functionally legalize Oregon's de facto distribution dispensary system. It passed from the House Health Care Committee to the Joint Ways and Means Committee on an encouraging 8-1 vote, bipartisan vote. The bill was endorsed on Wednesday by the Medford Mail Tribune, a traditionally very conservative newspaper. The last bill we'll talk about in the Oregon legislature is probably the most exciting. We've been working on it with a group of other people. It's House Bill 3371, a tax and regulation legalization proposal. It passed 6-3 out of the House Judiciary Committee to the Revenue Committee, where proponents believe it's gaining traction for a possible referral to the ballot in November of 2014. Well, that's the end of our hemp news tonight. We're going to go over here, and John Cornett and Jim are standing by waiting to play you some music. How are you folks?
I'm really good, Paul.
All right.
You know, I think it's interesting to note that most of the double-blind, peer-reviewed studies are heavily in favor of the medical efficacy of cannabis.
That's true.
So just want to make sure that got heard. We're going to do a song that we did a couple of weeks ago. I think it didn't get recorded on account we had some technical difficulties. It's called Mary Jane. It goes a little bit like this. For 12,000 years she's healed our lives. For 1,000 more she will brave the fight. She's my Joan of Arc, reaches through the flames, says come to me, I can heal your pain. She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. in the heat of the fight. She's my Rosa Parks, holds her seat. She's amazing grace. She is oh so sweet. Saved from hell in the fire of the night. Free my soul and clear my sight. She's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane. Saved from hell in the fire of the night. Free my soul and clear my sight. She's my Mary Jane. 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 She's my Mary Jane.
Great.
Thank you.
That was an inspired version
Jim
there.
Lawson, thank you
Thank
very
you too, Jim. And those were pictures from our THCF medicinal garden, where we give away free medical marijuana to patients.
Beautiful garden too.
Thank you. I know you enjoy the herbage from there, as do I. Welcome to the show, Casper.
Thank you so
And
much.
welcome you out there. We are taking your calls and questions about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, and helping medical marijuana patients. So if you have a call or question, you can call us at that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. We are on cable TV live here throughout the Portland area, and we're also streaming around the world on Ustream.tv. If you know anybody out there that you think should watch this show, call them up right now, whether they're in Timbuktu or any place between here and there. Tell them to go to Ustream.tv and look up Cannabis Common Sense. There's a list of the conditions that medical marijuana is approved for in almost every state where medical marijuana is allowed. So how has your week been, Casper?
Exciting. I noticed in the news you were talking about Barry wanting to have some kind of conversation about marijuana. He said this is right in the news. He said that this was the time to have a dialogue about it. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, Barry, why didn't we have a dialogue about it when you were like in college and smoking out with your buddies? Or why didn't we have a dialogue about it when you first got into the White House and said you would have a dialogue about it?
Barry. I'm going, Barry. Who are you talking? Barack. I didn't know you're saying
I forgot.
Barry.
That's right. That's what.
I know you're on the first name basis with him. And everything.
Michelle calls him, right? That's her name. Michelle?
I think so.
Yeah.
Or most people call him.
All right.
He's a
So
family
Barry,
member.
why didn't you talk about it then? Plus, he said he wanted to have we had this town hall meeting. We called in about it. When we wanted to talk about it, he laughed. And remember when he said, "Oh, ha ha ha, that's so
Yeah,
funny."
he always laughed anytime that marijuana always came. Anytime he asked for submissions about questions to be answered online, marijuana came in top. Sometimes it would be the top 5 questions out of 10, you know. And he would always just laugh, ha ha ha. Well,
Barry, there was those petitions.
I'm not in favor of that.
Right?
Ha,
All
ha,
those petitions that we sent out. So you and that sidekick of yours, what's his name? Joe, the guy with a loose cannon. You don't know what he's ever going to say. You just got to like hold back and hold your breath. Why don't we have the conversation now? Everybody's been waiting for you. You're like a little late to the party. All right? You want to have a conversation? Just step outside your front door. There's legal medical marijuana dispensaries in Washington, D.C. You can get a medical license. You might have a medical license.
I don't know if he's got a condition.
What we haven't seen is birth certificate or his school records. So why would we even know about
Don't
his
be spreading that
medical-
dirty rumor.
Oh, all right. Anyway, so you might have a license for all we know. We can smoke out together and discuss it now. Keith Strop's handy. I know he'll chat about it. A lot of people want to chat with you about it. So quit hiding behind the door. Quit hiding behind, what's his name? Eric.
That guy.
Eric. And come right on out and let everybody know that it really is, what do we say? Time for hemp. Yeah, baby. Okay, Barry, we're waiting for it. Oh, and what's the phone number he can call? Barry, you can call anytime. We're on live Friday nights. You can call live.
That would be interesting.
Paul will talk to you about he's smart and what. And then
if
I'm
you have
friendly,
a question
right,
or comment for us tonight about ending adult marijuana
and your kids, you know, they're going to be
storing
smoking
industrial hemp,
and your
our
daughters,
medical marijuana, you can call us at that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. Yeah, calm down, man.
That's the other thing. Remember,
you got your
Barry,
anxiety thing going here.
Your kids are going to be smoking pot pretty soon too when they go off to college. So you want to have this conversation now while you got the chance, right? And Paul is the guy to talk about it. So pick up the phone, call Paul anytime. In fact, they probably have your personal cell number. Just call the DEA.
I think the federal
got that.
government has just about everything they could possibly want.
Right.
But if you're out there and you have a question for us tonight, you can call us live on TV at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. And we are, again, streaming live on Ustream all around the world. We have some film clips we'll be showing you in just a minute as well.
Well, I think it is exciting. It looked like California did something with their legislative body, didn't they, here just recently?
They say they're going to move the medical marijuana program to the Liquor Control Commission, which is kind of interesting. And so...
and Illinois just did something too, didn't they?
Yeah, they're passing medical marijuana, it looks like. We can hope.
Isn't Barry...
The patients can hope.
Isn't Barry from that state?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's where he represented the state. First, the city of... Chicago. He worked there as a community organizer. And
sounds to me like people in Chicago like to have that conversation with you.
I think there are a lot of them. There's no doubt about that.
All right.
So I think another interesting thing is yet more polls have come out showing that a majority of people support ending adult marijuana prohibition. Here in Oregon, we've done a poll recently that shows that 80% of the people think that the legalization of marijuana is inevitable. While we only have about 52%, 50% that say they think it should be legal, 80%, over 80% have said they believe that its prohibition is inevitable. We have a phone call, though.
Well, didn't you say that Congress has got this thing going on that if Colorado just moves forward, Congress is kind of like SOL?
There's a whole bunch of different laws we talked about. I can't remember all the numbers. I remember 1635 being the one that we focused on most.
It'd be like during the Prohibition days,
Senate
where
bill.
Like a free-for-all if Congress didn't.
Well, yeah, that's one thing that should be noted. You know, if Congress or the President, the Attorney General of the United States should move to quash the laws or enjoin the laws in Washington and Colorado, well, that just means it's going to be legal with no regulation. So do they want it to be legal with no regulation, or do they want to see some regulation? During alcohol prohibition, New York was the first state that just threw out all the alcohol laws, and it was de facto legal but not regulated until after they reviewed and withdrew the initiative to criminalize alcohol.
Sounds to me
repeal
like
alcohol prohibition.
Like they're kind of like backed into a corner. You either play the game or you stand on the sidelines.
That's
and
what this congressional report said. We have a caller standing by, though. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yes, sir.
Howdy.
I was wondering if anyone had ever done an environmental impact statement on hemp.
Didn't Gatewood do that?
There have been a number of environmental impact statements on cannabis, cultivation illegally, and on national land. And but, you know, in the current situation where it's prohibited, it's very difficult to fully assess the environmental impacts of legalizing hemp and cannabis. But I really believe what we'll see when marijuana is legal is we'll be using hemp stalks or hemp fiber for paper, canvas, rope, lace, linen, and building materials. So we won't have to cut down trees for paper and building material. We won't have to use cotton, which is highly, uses more pesticides than any other crop. We can use hemp fiber, which is a lot more long-lasting. And we'll also see biofuels coming from hemp seed oil and biomass production, since hemp grows more in the temperate and cooler climates than any other plant on the planet. But
biodegradable.
It hasn't been fully studied yet because it isn't really legal here yet.
Well, that's too bad. I wish that they
we're working on it. Stay tuned. We should see another initiative or two on the ballot in 2014. So, and maybe the legislature will refer one. I can hope.
Okay. Well, thank you, and keep up the good work.
We shall. Thank you. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442, and we'll be happy to try to answer your questions.
What are you guys doing for the marijuana march?
Well, it's happening on a global level. In fact, we just sponsored the Global Marijuana March in New York City. They needed some money to be able to get their stage and everything. And we have ours here in Portland starting at Pioneer Courthouse Square exactly on noon. You want to be there at about 11:30 and get ready. May 4th, Saturday, May 4th, a week from tomorrow at Pioneer Courthouse Square. We'll be doing about a mile-long march, and you're welcome to come participate. Last year we had about 600 people. We hope to make it even larger this year.
It was weird. It was a sunny day, and over the 600 people that were there was this big cloud.
It's weird like that. Yeah, I was at this thing last Saturday. It was a 420 event, and I thought my glasses were dirty or something. I looked, oh, no, it's just the smoke. Okay. We have another caller and a film clip to roll, but let's take the call first. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello, everyone. I had a question for you guys about, is anybody out there having an initiative going with a no THC limit hemp besides what you were promoting before? Because of that Notre Dame University study, it's really interesting that we have to get all our hemp seed from France from that one company. It seems kind of like a monopoly. I was just seeing your take on that.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Unfortunately, ours was the only one, and of course we got 47% statewide. We were about 116,000 votes short of passing Oregon's Measure 80, which would have allowed hemp to be cultivated, and it wouldn't be limited to its THC. It would be the varieties that produced the most seed and stalks instead of the varieties that have the least THC. So that's what farmers should be growing hemp fiber for, and hemp seed oil and hemp protein. It should be the plants that produce the most, not the ones that have the least THC. That has nothing to do with the final output. In fact, those are dwarf varieties that produce about 1/20th as much seed and half as much fiber as feral hemp here in the United States, was only about 2% THC.
So is there any other people that are going to catch on to that to start trying to push for that in their state? Because
I hope so. We're doing it here, so we'll see what happens.
Well, thanks for everything you guys are doing, and I appreciate all your work.
All right. Thanks for your call. We have a little film clip we're going to roll right now. This is, I think it's from the 2007 Marijuana March here in Portland. We want to urge you to come out to Pioneer Courthouse Square about 11:30. We'll be marching at high noon, and there is a biodiesel-run bus that will be there if you're not up to marching a mile. But come down on Saturday, May 4th, to Pioneer Courthouse Square, and we're going to flash back about 6 years to look at past
Voodoo
marches.
Donuts going to hand out donuts that day? Oh, that would rock. You should Voodoo Donuts.
Enjoy this clip.
We want to let everybody know that we're law-abiding citizens and that we respect the law. So let's
relax it and tax it. Medical marijuana gotta have it. Relax it and tax it. Righteousness, nothing but the blood of Jesus. Oh, precious. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. Repeat, say, I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. Marijuana, marijuana. engine to run on hemp oil. 1 acre yields 300 gallons of biodiesel. Do you want your fuel dollar going in the pocket of an Arab sheik or an American farmer? Which would you rather see your money to? How many American boys have died for fuel that we... Give me weed or give me death.
All right, didn't that look fun?
It did.
You can come have fun with us. I'd love to see you there next Saturday, May 4th. Be there about 11:30. We'll be marching right at high noon and march about a mile around downtown Portland to impress upon people the need to end adult marijuana prohibition. We have several callers standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yes. Hello?
Howdy.
Hi. Can you tell me if marijuana has any positive effect for people with dementia diseases like Alzheimer's?
Yeah, it has neuroprotective effects for all sorts of neurodegenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's. And in fact, it has been approved here in Oregon for use by patients with Alzheimer's.
And it has a positive effect.
Yes, it does.
And if you forget something, you can always blame it on the fact that you just smoked a joint, not the Alzheimer's.
But seriously, it's been shown to have a neuroprotective effect and to slow the progression of Alzheimer's.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Good night. Thanks for your call. We have another caller standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yes.
Hey, how are you?
No. Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay. Okay. My question is, sorry about that. I wasn't sure if I was on the air.
You're on the air.
Okay.
There's a little
Anyway,
delay on the TV, so don't pay attention to that. That's if you say something outrageous, we can bleep you. Don't listen to TV. Listen to the phone, please.
Okay.
Okay.
No, mute up.
It's like, listen to the phone.
We can all hear your television.
Okay.
Did you have a question or comment?
Yeah. Okay. Now my question is, do they use marijuana for the symptoms for like PTSD and stuff?
For PTSD, you mean post-traumatic stress?
Yes.
Yes. And there's a bill in the legislature, Senate Bill 281, that has passed the Senate and now goes to the House to add that to Oregon's medical marijuana law. They have it in New Mexico, and it's one of the most popular conditions to get a New Mexico medical marijuana card. So currently, it's not allowed in Oregon, but there's a Senate bill that has already passed the Senate and is now in the House, and we urge you, if you live here in Oregon, to contact your Oregon legislators and get them to pass Senate Bill 281 to add PTSD to Oregon's medical marijuana law.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. I think we have one more caller, or maybe more. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hi. I was calling about an old friend of the show, Dr. Dover, who came on the show and offered medical advice and support.
Right when he was being prosecuted by the Oregon Medical Board for outrageous charges, which they ended up sanctioning his license and suspending it temporarily. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of people ask me what happened to Dr. Dover, but I am not sure. I haven't heard. After the Oregon board pulled his license, he just kind of disappeared from the scene here.
Oh, but it was, I had heard that they had said he was writing too many medical marijuana recommendations. Was that the case?
I think it was something else. It was something like he hadn't properly documented it, and that wasn't true. I don't want to say for certain that is exactly what the reason was. I know he came on our show and talked about it about 4 years ago, but it had to do with standards of practice, not the number of medical marijuana recommendations he wrote.
Okay, and so you don't know what's happened to him then?
No, I do know that he was sanctioned by the Oregon Medical Board. Unfortunately, it was a wrongful sanction. You know, Governor Kitzhaber had stacked the medical board with people that don't believe in medical marijuana's efficacy, but his license was wrongfully pulled, and he left the area. I've had a lot of people ask about him since then, and I have not heard what exactly has happened to him. And Dr. Dover, if you're out there, give us a call, because a lot of your patients who love you want to hear where you're at and how you're doing.
Exactly, and that's interesting to know about Kitzhaber, because
Kitzhaber's always been against medical marijuana and marijuana in general. Now, he is a closet smoker, and he hates me for talking about this on this show, and I have some proof of the reason he hates me, but such as I've been prosecuted by. But anyway, he smoked marijuana back in the 70s with a lot of different people when he was in the legislature, including with several friends of mine up at Brighton Bush and many other places. But he's one of those closeted people. You know, sometimes the people who are closeted or quit are the most vociferous against it.
Yeah.
Like that senator in Idaho who's so strongly against gay rights but was caught in the men's room having sex with another man.
Exactly. Well, I didn't know that he had stacked the medical board. That's interesting to know.
Yeah, he has.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
If you have a question or comment for us tonight, give us a call. We are live for about another 22 minutes here on cable TV and on the internet. You can call us that number on your screen, 503-288-4442.
We're only live for 22 minutes?
Then what's going to happen?
I don't have my will.
You're going to expire.
Oh, my God.
It'll be a new thing for television.
The ratings will be great.
Yeah. We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yes, good evening. First time caller. I had a question about Measure 80.
Go right ahead. I'm the guy to talk to.
You know, there were some specifics in Measure 80 that were kind of vague tax law, and I understand that a lot of proponents for medical marijuana were actually against Measure 80 passing in Portland because of the wide taxation that was kind of left for interpretation in Measure 80. Is that all true? Well,
you know, here in Portland, we got 64% of the vote in Portland and 61% of the vote in Multnomah County. So I don't know if you can say a lot of people were against it here in Portland, but you can say that down in Southern Oregon, where a lot of people depend on selling marijuana at exorbitant prices to the black market, there were a number of people who were against it. The law in Measure 80 said that the tax would be set by the new Cannabis Commission to bring in revenue for the state and to discourage illegal production and to discourage illegal export. So the tax wasn't formally set in Measure 80. It would be set by this new Cannabis Commission. And so there's a lot of debate about the tax structure. There's a good symposium at the University of Oregon Law School a little over a week ago that talked a lot about that. Did that answer your question?
Okay, yeah. I understand that they're going to actually work on some more legislation that will be more specific.
Yeah, there are several. There's Senate Bill, it's House Bill 3371 that has some specifics in it. And we're working on an initiative if the legislature doesn't pass that or refer it to the voters. And we're going to also revise Measure 80. And we also have a constitutional amendment that didn't make the ballot the last time around. So we're going to file all of these initiatives, get the ballot title back, and then poll that ballot title to see the ones that are most likely to pass, and then move forward with those initiatives if the legislature doesn't come forward with a referral.
And what's the calendar on that? When do you expect that to really
I
come
expect that we'll start gathering. We've got to get 1,000 signatures to start the ballot title process with the Secretary of State's office. And I expect that we will see those signatures gathered in the month of May. And then we'll see the ballot title question and summary sometime in July. And we'll be doing the polls in July or August. And we'll decide which one to move forward with before our Hempstock Festival, which is the second week in September.
Oh, that's perfect. I'll keep an eye on it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Maybe a good time for Barry to come down and talk about it. Put his signature on there and be one of the first to sign. Come on.
He's not an Oregon registered voter.
Oh.
But, you know, it will be a good time for you to put your signature on it, so stay tuned. We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello. I want to say thank you, Paul, for your show and for your efforts, actually.
You are very welcome. Wild horses couldn't drag me away, and a few have tried, and I'm still,
Definitely.
you know, keep marching strong. I'm a strong believer that best thing I can do with my life is try to restore hemp, and that's why I keep pushing it.
All right. I watched a couple of times where you mentioned traveling with medicine to Hawaii. I was curious if you could tell me what the qualifications for a card over there are, and what are the limitations, and do you happen to have the number over there?
Certainly. You know, in Hawaii, they base their law through the legislature on Oregon's law. So on Oregon's old law, you know, back in 2007, the Oregon legislature increased the amount of marijuana that a patient can possess and grow from 3 ounces to 24 ounces and from 7 plants to 24 plants. So Hawaii has Oregon's old law. It allows you to possess up to 3 ounces and to grow up to 7 plants. In fact, I'll be over in Hawaii and we'll be seeing patients and helping people get their medical marijuana permit here in about a week and a half. So if you're interested in getting a medical marijuana permit in Hawaii or in Oregon, Colorado, California, Washington, Michigan, and any place else in the United States, give us a call at that number there on your screen, 1-800-723-0188. We have doctors all over the U.S. and can help you get multiple state permits as well. So in Hawaii, they require that the doctor turn in your application and get the license, and then the doctor has to sign it, and the doctor gives you the card. So in our case, that's our clinic, and we can take care of that if you're interested.
So if I had the records from my card here in Oregon, are those the same qualifications?
Yeah. And if you came through the THCF clinics, then we already have your records, and we could. However, the state of Hawaii, their program requires that you see the doctor in the state of Hawaii. We also help Willie Nelson and his wife and family get their Hawaii and Oregon medical marijuana cards. I just also want to say real quick, happy birthday, Willie. This coming Tuesday, April 30th, is Willie's 80th birthday. So I'm proud to be able to grow for Willie, and
he's back out on the road too.
He's on the road. He's going to be playing a show. Well, he's playing a show tonight in Bee Cave, Texas, near his old family home. But yes, we'd be happy to help you get a medical marijuana permit in Hawaii.
Marvelous. Well, thank you very much, and you guys have a good night.
You too. Thanks for calling.
Explain to me how it is that Hawaii has medical marijuana with the plants you can grow and the ounces you can have, and then we got Roger Christie sitting in jail for over a year for
3 years. Roger Christie has been in jail for almost 3 years now. Roger Christie was using marijuana for religious purposes and selling it through a downtown store. And he was busted with less than 2 pounds, and he's being held by the federal government. It's his first time offense. He's 63 now. He was only 61 when he was first arrested, July 8th of 2008. And he's been held now for 3 years. Or no, it was 2010. And he's been held now for 3 years. And we want to urge you out there to advocate for the release of Roger Christie pending his trial. Seems unlikely. His release on bail has been turned down. They're saying he's a danger to the community. This is a 63-year-old honorably discharged veteran with no criminal history, no involvement with minors, no weapons involved, and they are holding him saying he is a danger to the community.
And he had a ministry that preached love and gave not only sacrament, but gave food and clothing and help cover the cost of
he performed
shelter.
a wedding the day before he was put in prison.
So here's a terrorist right there that's terrorizing the community by
the
giving
federal
free
government's
food
the
and
terrorist in this case. That's what I truly believe.
I'm going to love you to death.
We have a question from our online audience. If you're out there, we got a few minutes left. You can ask us questions. It says, could Portland pass a lowest priority law on cannabis to stop arrests? Yes, we could certainly do that. Since Portland got 64% of the vote in favor of Measure 80, which is a lot more far-reaching than simply a lowest priority, we could simply do it, but it wouldn't have much of an effect, unfortunately. The lowest priority laws can be overlooked by law enforcement. That's why we're working on full legalization. And you can find out more about all our work at hemp.org. We're updating our news several times a day. You go to hemp.org/news, and you can see our hemp news. We'll be out with our hemp newspaper again here in about a month.
And we're going to be on the Roku Network if we're not already, so we might have an audience that we're building up there now, coming soon. Thanks to American Freedom Radio, they're getting us out on the Roku Network, and that way more people are learning the importance of making this plant an industrial crop that our farmers can utilize for our future.
Why don't you give a plug for your radio show, Casper? You have been producing, first you produced Time for Hemp for television down in Los Angeles for cable, just like this show, back in 1991 to 92. Is that right?
Right.
And now you've been doing it on the radio for about 6 years.
Oh my gosh, and we are reaching a lot of people, and the guests that we have on the broadcast are being able to get their message out. We have a lot of patients on the program. Apparently, my friends in Canada have pointed out that Time for Hemp has had more medical marijuana patients on its broadcast than any other broadcast, whether it be pro-marijuana or just a news outlet. So that's quite an honor to be able to raise the voice.
So it's Time, the digit for
Hemp. Timeforhemp.com. And you can listen to AmericanFreedomRadio.com every Monday through Friday, AM, FM stations across America, the Roku Network. And, of course, we are up in iTunes. If you go to Time for Hemp in the search engines, you'll find all 4 of our iTunes that you can download for free. And thank you for letting me give a nice shout-out, a shameless plug, but really, what makes the show so awesome is the guests. We have so much information. And then the joint host. On Mondays, we have Mary Lynn Mathry and Al Byrne, patients at a time. Tuesdays, a salute to the people in Canada who are working so diligently to end prohibition. Wednesday, Leap Day, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition with Peter Criss, co-founder. Thursday, Paul Stanford is the joint host. We talk about the American Front and what's going on in the political scene. And on Fridays, Michael Krawitz and I roll into a small town somewhere on the planet and put a spotlight on the hardworking activists who are doing all that they can to help end prohibition. Timeforhemp.com. Hit the donate button. AmericanFreedomRadio.com, 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard. Tune in, tell your friends, and do take Time for Hemp.
You know, I have some interesting items to show you here today. This is from China, and as you can see, maybe we can get a close-up. They have marijuana plants right on the bottle. Now this little symbol right, here it is. I'll get my finger. That one. That is Ma, and Ma is hemp. That's the Chinese character for hemp.
That's cool.
And so this is and obviously these are hemp plants. So they have are selling this medicine over eBay, and I got a few of them, and it's these little wax balls with cannabis inside. I'm going to have to find out more. They've got some Chinese characters on them.
Is that like a tea, do you think? You'll
I don't know.
Brew it?
I'm not sure. I'm going to have to, I'll know more. We'll have more in the near future. Then right next door, we have this bottle. This is the seal of the British Pharmacological Association. This is a tincture of cannabis bottle. This was actually made in the 1970s as a commemorative for the British Pharmacological Society.
That's gorgeous.
It's one of about 5 different types of bottles, and I have this one. Then
that is
last
beautiful.
but not least, we have these tasty hulled hemp seeds that are high in protein and good for you. And you can pick them up all over town. I saw them in the Third Eye, at all the local dispensaries. They will not get you high. They have no THC in them, but they have the omega-3, 6, and 9 in perfect balance for human health. And so they've taken the name hemp, which I like to think hemp stands for Help End Marijuana Prohibition.
Yep.
Casper and my friend Jack Hare propagated that. But in this case, this hemp is healthy eating made possible. And Justin and Bill have been propagating these seeds, and they have just gratuitously put the THCF logo on there. But they're very tasty. I understand we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Well, how are you tonight?
Very well. How are you?
Okay. I wondered what you thought of Congressman Earl Blumenauer's proposal of paying off the national debt with a tax on marijuana.
Well, I love it. I love it. I mean, I think the tax is a little high myself. I don't think they'll pay off the national debt, but it certainly could make a huge difference. I think he's proposing $35 or $50 an ounce tax.
Wow. Oh,
That's cheaper than it is. I mean, you know, if I can grow it for $5 and sell it for 10, I'd be doing well. They put a $35 tax on it. What does that mean? A $45 ounce?
Yeah,
that sure seems cheap right now, doesn't it?
As much as you and Snoop Dogg smoke, you would take care of the national debt, just the two of you.
Maybe so.
Well, I think there's only so much room for a tax on.
I agree. I think that and that's why in Measure 80 we did not specifically set the tax, and I always held that by allowing the commission to set the tax, we'd see a higher tax at first to discourage its illegal export to surrounding states where it remained illegal, like Idaho or Nevada. But then as the surrounding states regulated and became legal, the price would go down dramatically. Like I said, outdoors, I can grow it for $5 an ounce. And so $35 tax sounds real expensive, but they have a real high tax on tobacco too, you know.
Well, and it will always be known as a high tax.
Should be on a percentage of, but I'll let you guys go.
I agree.
Evening.
And there's
okay,
been some
thanks again
debate
very
among
much.
our working group on exactly how to structure the tax. We've been talking to a lot of different experts, and it was a big subject about a week and a half ago at the University of Oregon Symposium on marijuana legalization as well, at the law school there. All right. Well, thank you for your call. We're down to just a few. We got a couple callers in just a few minutes. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, okay. I made it on. I just called it a minute ago. A little bit of a delay, kind of a puzzler. Let me preface this by saying I don't use marijuana. I had a friend who passed away, who was taking care of a couple of friends who used marijuana. It significantly reduced their amount of morphine use.
Yeah.
For pain.
Yes.
So
without the debilitating withdrawal symptoms, probably.
Well, it was over time, and they didn't have the marijuana. They needed more of their morphine pills. So basically, I got begged into becoming a caregiver, and the whole thing has me just petrified, I guess.
I understand. You know, the first couple of years when I had my medical marijuana caregiver license, I was the same way. I felt, and I still occasionally get that cold chill down my spine, but now that they passed the law in Washington and Colorado, I feel a lot more comfortable with it.
Well, I'm a homeowner. I own my home outright. I'm older. The people I take care of are older, and the fact that you can that there's just so much gray area is
sure. Well, I can tell you that the U.S. Attorney for the state of Oregon has said in a public forum that as long as you are in unambiguous compliance, as long as you're fully compliant with Oregon's medical marijuana law, they are not going to prosecute you. So if you have a license, you're following state law, you're safe.
And I understand that, and there's following state law and there's prosecution, but there's seizure. Yeah. So maybe they can, maybe not put me in jail, but they can steal what I've worked my entire life for. And that's my quandary is.
I can tell you that here in Oregon, I don't know anyone who's had their property seized because they were in compliance with Oregon's medical marijuana law.
And
that's been in effect, since 1999. So we've had the law now for 14 years.
Well, that bases on my next question. I have 2 cards for 2 different individuals. My understanding is I'm allowed 7 plants over 12 inches tall for each card.
6. It's 6 plants. So you can have 12 plants all together that are wider or taller than 1 foot. And you can have 18 plants each, or for 2 patients, that'd be 36 plants that are less than 1 foot tall and 1 foot wide, or little starter plants. Yeah.
Okay. It just the rhetoric that you go through to get through the state is so confusing and so.
I understand. It is
the rhetoric, and it's just I've heard so many different things that.
Well, I'll tell you, it's 24 plants and 24 ounces, and 6 of those plants are not limited in their size or width or anything, but 18 of those 24 plants have to be less than 1 foot tall and 1 foot wide, and you can possess 24 ounces per patient. So technically, you could have 3 pounds.
And it's easy to remember because we like to enjoy our medication 24 hours a day.
And like I say, when I was younger, back in the 70s, early 80s, you know, I played around when everybody else did in my age. I understand.
Well, let me assure you that we're on the verge of a bright new day, and that the permit will protect you as long as you're in compliance with the law. You know, we're down to less than 2 minutes, though, so I got to let you go.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. I know we got another caller standing by. Sorry, caller, we're going to have to miss you this week. I want to thank all you folks for watching. If you or a loved one need help getting a medical marijuana permit, then we have doctors all over the country. We're about to open up in Maine and Massachusetts and Rhode Island. We're already in Oregon, Washington, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Nevada, and you can call us at 1-800-723-0188 anywhere in the USA and Canada. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Casper. We're going to go out with John Cornette and Jim singing a great song about marijuana. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp.